Well, this update can be seen as a very small, insignificant deal in the grand scheme of things. Rick Dhaliwal tweeted out about an hour ago that the Buffalo Sabres and Bowen Byram will avoid arbitration, as at that time they were closing in on a new contract. Shortly after, you had Elliotte Friedman go out there and giving the details. Bowen Byram has signed a 2-year contract extension with the Sabres at $6.25 million a year. And at first glance, you can say, oh, great. A guy avoided arbitration. A guy signed the deal. 2 years, $6.25. That's not that big of a deal, right? And I guess you can say that's correct. 2 years, $6.25, that's not a big contract at all. The dollar amount is fine for the talent that Bowen Byram provides. The cap is going up. Nobody's going to say that Buffalo is strangling themselves with this kind of a contract. But it becomes a lot more interesting and an even bigger deal when you think about the implications as to the contract length and where this takes Bowen Byram, the player. So if we scroll up into Puckpedia's analysis of the deal, they say here, the Sabres' 24-year-old RFA left-handed defenseman Bowen Byram has signed a 2-year, $6.25 million cap hit contract. The deal covers 2 RFA seasons and walks Byram straight to UFA status. He's been, represented, there you go, brain fart, represented by Darren Ferris at Quarter X Hockey. First in the signing was Rick Dhaliwal, and first on the terms was Elliotte Friedman. Here is the Puckpedia analysis of where the money is going. Byram's 2-year, $6.25 million cap hit Sabres deal has a $5.25 million salary in the first year with a $1 million signing bonus, and then a full-on $6.25 million salary in year 2, covering 2 RFA seasons and expiring as a UFA. That right there is the big part. Expires as a UFA. Bowen Byram has pretty much gotten, preemptively traded? That's the term they used on the subreddit. Let's go out there and read this. Our Hockey posted about the Byram contract details 47 minutes ago. I've never seen a player so preemptively traded. Unless this deal has a full no-trade clause, trade rumor season is just getting started for Bowen Byram. Lots of teams out there could use an offensively talented lefty. Fans will never stop preemptively trading him. Pack your bags. RFAs cannot get no-trade clauses, I believe. That is true. Only UFA years are allowed no-trade clauses. So essentially, now that the Buffalo Sabres have Byram under contract, and now that we know the number, it becomes all the more easier for teams to start knocking on Buffalo's door saying, hey, can we get that guy? Hey, what's the price for that guy? Hey, what do you want for that guy? Might I remind you, the Sabres already have Dahlin and Power, not to mention Mattias Samuelsson signed onto a long-term deal. Those are 3 lefties already, and then you add Byram. A guy who was already reported to potentially be wanting out, a guy who couldn't really agree with terms with the Buffalo Sabres, a guy who wants a bigger role, a guy who is probably better than whatever it is he has been playing like in Buffalo. This is a young, talented player that I know a lot of Sabres fans can harp on, and they can say, oh, he's only good when he plays with Dahlin, oh, he's not this, oh, he's not that. I'm biased. I'm a Canucks fan. I watched this guy with the Vancouver Giants, and I was like, yeah, this guy has top-tier potential. He couldn't make it work in Colorado because he'd have to overtake Cale Makar and Devon Taves. And now in Buffalo, things haven't been really working out all too well for him either. And this contract is pretty fine, I would say. It's so fine that if things went, let's just say they went south this upcoming season, if things are so-so to not great in 2025, 2026, once 2026's offseason comes and Bowen Byram has 1 year left at $6.25 million, and he's eligible for another contract extension at that point, then it becomes all the more easier for Buffalo to dangle Bowen Byram out and be like, hey, we got this guy, 50% salary retained. Anybody want him? 625 Divi 2 is 3.1 something. So 3.1 something for a guy in Bowen Byram who, when he was playing without Rasmus Dahlin, a lot of folks will say he wasn't great, but I will also argue that when Rasmus Dahlin was injured and Bowen Byram was tasked with being the number one guy, he played very well in that role. Byram, this previous season, had 38 points in 82 games, a career high in points in a season for the young defenseman, and you will still find people saying that he wasn't really all too great. I think a lot of that has to do with the expectation. It's the fact that he was a former 4th overall pick, and a lot of folks were saying that he would have been a number 1 defenseman by this time in his NHL development. It just didn't happen in Colorado. It hasn't happened yet with Buffalo. There's a lot to go over with the Sabres and their decor long term because there are so many good names, but Bowen Byram is maybe one of the odd guys out, especially since he's one of many lefties on that Buffalo Sabres core. He also doesn't happen to be a 1st overall pick. So, a lot of Sabres fans are going out there and responding to this positively as well. I mean, you scroll over onto their subreddit, honestly, I'm not even mad. Obviously, this is a cheap bridge deal to get him to free agency, but if he plays well, we could get a crap ton at the deadline this year or next year for him, which I think is the most likely scenario. Plays with Dahlin this year and to the deadline next, then he is replaced by Mrtka, who enters the NHL struggling for 5 minutes, then levels McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard on his way to scoring a first seed clinching. Okay, that's a very hypothetical situation. This is pretty much exactly what I wanted. You get a competent player in Byram as a partner for Dahlin for 2 years, worst case scenario, and the cap hit is low enough that it's very tradable. We're going to get cooked for this, but it makes a ton of sense. I think the only reason the Sabres would get cooked is because of how much they're spending on D right now. Otherwise, I think this is fine. They prevented an offer sheet by electing arbitration, and they signed Byram for a reasonable number and term so the contract can easily be traded. I think it's solid all around. It's so interesting to me how the default mindset of a lot of Sabres fans is, oh yeah, okay, great. We re-signed this guy. Now he's easier to trade. Now he's got that accessibility to potentially being on the move. And there's extra value that you can add on if you play him the right way next season and he actually plays well. You know Bowen Byram is also going to try to put his best foot forward because he wants to set himself up for the best destination possible next year, right? He's not going to play poorly and then expect to get traded to a team that he actually wants to go to. He wants to play well. He wants there to be a bidding war for his services. He wants to go to a team that's willing to spend. And by the time 2027 rolls around, he might be able to get even more money and a better role on a better team. Who knows? There's a lot of potential here for Bowen Byram, the player, and for the Buffalo Sabres to potentially get some stuff because they know that Bowen Byram is an asset that they don't really have long-term. They know that he doesn't want to be there long-term. So this is kind of the best-case scenario for everybody. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Bowen Byram contract as reported by Rick Dhaliwal and Elliot Friedman. What are your thoughts on the dollar amount? What are your thoughts on the story itself? What are your thoughts on Byram signing this contract that goes straight to unrestricted free agency status? Let me know in the comments section all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.